Beep. I'm just having a bowl. Sitting there trying to have a break. Been up since 4 o'clock. It's ridiculous. Want to go out? Sometimes I need some sleep, right? So I've been watching things unfold today and thinking about what's going on, and I watched a couple of things and just thought this is mad. I don't know why we can't expect people to be adult about this. Keir bloody Starmer. I mean, just we need a middle ground. 99% of 99.9%. So 1 in 1,000 people. It's come on, Keir. Come on. You better say it like it is, matey boy. Because you right now you can't make a declarative statement about trans issues to save your life. What the hell's your bloody problem? Right? What's your problem? Then we got that bloke in New Zealand. That was bloody priceless, wasn't it? Oh, well, you've caught me off guard with a question. I've not prepared for a question. The question was, what's a woman? These weak, weak men who won't stand up to other men who want to colonise women's spaces. It's not difficult. It's not difficult. The public will get it if you just say it. Just be declarative. Sunak's the same. Where are you? What are you doing? Farting around. Hiding behind a milk bottle. Get on with it, you buggers. Honest to God, it's not difficult. Is it? You want the public to understand it, just make it simple. Here we go, right? Okay, make the public understand it, okay? So that you understand it, the public, right? Okay? There's no such thing as a trans child. There are only children with mental distress. Is that clear? Okay? And transition or social any kind of transition should not be on the table because it is iatrogenic. It means it is that which causes the harm. It's not a cure of any kind. It doesn't cause anything other than harm. Okay, that's it. It just causes harm. When it comes to adults, there are adults who are so terribly ill that they want to transition. I wouldn't let them. We now know it has the most devastating consequences, lifelong problems, osteoporosis, all sorts of brain problems. We know. Right? What we don't know is the full long-term effects, although we do know that when it comes to dementia, they tend to forget that they ever did it. That must be a horrific thing to do, to wake up every day and go, where's my penis or where's my breasts? I don't even want to think about that. It's so horrific. Years ago, John Hopkins stopped doing it. The originators of it stopped doing it because they knew what a disaster it was. But yet here we are, 40 years later, still doing it. Still doing it, all based on a confected idea called gender identity, which came from John Money and Kinsey, who both did some very strange experiments on people, including children. Right? So there you go. Children who are ill, adults who are ill. Let's find some way to help them, but transition should never be on the table for either. It must end, and end now. Psychotherapy, that's what's required, to allow them to live with whatever it is that they are suffering with. It's the only thing we can do. Because the rest is far too damaging. It's iatrogenic. It is the harm. That's it. That's the two groups of people that we want to help. Okay? And we should not allow gender identity ideology, which is a separate issue, to get in the way. And gender identity ideology is an open door, and queer theory is an open door for fetishists, paraphiliacs, cross-dressers, and anybody else who wants to have a go at being a woman or being a man. LARPing girls getting into gay men's spaces, and LARPing men getting into women's spaces. It's got nothing to do with somebody who's mentally ill. If they're mentally ill, they're mentally ill. Let's get them some help, because that's what it was all about in the first place, wasn't it? Trying to get them some help. We screwed it up. We screwed it up. You can get help, but transition is never on the table at all. So put them to one side. Let's put them to one side and not worry about them for a minute. Because that's who I think Joe and Joanne Public think we're talking about. But we're not talking about them. We're talking about paraphiliacs, AGPs, paraphiliacs, men with a sexual fetish. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about women running from their femininity, running from their femaleness, if you want to call it that, or running for what they think will be something better than being a woman. It's mental illness again, isn't it? Children with mental illness, adults with mental illness, everything underneath is fetishism, paraphilia, wish fulfillment, or power. That's what it's about. Don't play along. Don't use pronouns. Don't participate in their delusions. And certainly do not give them an ounce of power anywhere. And all Starmer has to do, and all Rishi has to do, and all that idiot in New Zealand has to do, is to say no. Women are women. Men are men. There are only two sexes. Transition is iatrogenic and it will be ceased immediately. Everything else is a fetish, a paraphilia, or narcissistic wish fulfillment. That's where we're going. Oh, and by the way, we're going to repeal the Gender Recognition Act. Then we'll take a look at the Equality Act. Let's see where it went wrong. Why have we got everybody at each other's throats over various things? That's what we need to do. Say it. Because if I was the Tories right now, my war chest would be looking particularly full. Because I'd be out the gates in a few weeks' time before we have an election, which will be about 12, 14 weeks from now, I reckon. There'll be sniffs of an election ready for the early part of 2024. I'd start. Because right now, Labour are the party that won't recognise what a woman is, that wants to hurt your children, that wants to make it easier for fetishists to get into women's spaces, wants to have gender-neutral toilets and keep teaching critical social justice in your schools. That's what Labour is. And if the Tories don't stop it, they'll just be the same. And believe me, with two parties that are going to do the same thing for the same group of people that are pushing for this nonsense, the public are eventually going to go, that's enough, and I hate to think what comes after that. But I imagine it will be the one thing that this bunch of middle-class wibblers fear the most, which is the mob. See what happens when I've had a roast dinner at lunchtime early and then had a bit of a doze and watched a bit of Blackadder? I start thinking ridiculous nonsense. Go ahead. You want to vote Labour, vote Labour. But if the Tories don't show their colours and put this right, it won't really matter which one you vote for, because it'll all be over. Then we've got 4 years of hell coming to us. Keep fighting. We have to. All right? For the children. I'll see you later. Bye.